President McMillan, thank you for the very kind introduction and for the invitation. I thought it was very ecumenical that early into my term that Albright College would reach out and actually let a Dutchman get up here on the podium and talk to you all today. And you've been very ecumenical in the reception. Thank you very much. Bishop Barris, Dr. Mayer, we'll call you doctor now, to the trustees, the administrators, the faculty, and to all distinguished guests, and particularly to the families, but most of all to the graduates, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today and give you a small speech, a short speech. Now, I understand that the bishop was very brief in his baccalaureate speech. It won't be quite that short, but I will try. To the graduates, you're here today for two reasons. Number one, your own hard work, what you've been doing over the entire time, not only in high school, but now in college. And number two, to the strong support of your mothers and your fathers, your brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, and grandparents. So if you don't think it inappropriate for a governor to ask you to do something, I think it is appropriate to ask you to stand up, turn around, and give your supporters a round of applause. So would you please stand up? Thank you. Now, what you have just done is you have just thanked your first teachers, especially your parents. Your parents taught you to speak, to walk, to make those first steps into a complicated place called the world. They gave you their values, and more importantly, they gave you a foundation to develop values of your own. Now, as you leave Albright, you might have beliefs different from your parents. These 4 years of college will be the years I believe you will remember most vividly. Years from now, you will come to see that they made a greater impression on you than any other 4 years of your lives. This is the place you were exposed to different ways of seeing things. You met people very different from you. What you learned in a dorm, dealing with different people, sorting through the mysteries of adapting to new people, is probably as valuable as anything you learned in a classroom. With any luck, you heard ideas you never heard before. You didn't have to adopt them as your own, but I hope that you listened and thought them out. All of this change can be a little alarming to parents. I don't know how many of you watch South Park. My son certainly does. But one of the wisest characters there is Chef. He always tells the boys, there's a time and place for everything. It's called college. Now, I saw some of you laughing, so you know that. Suddenly, you are trying out new ideas. You are setting your own agenda. And the biggest difference your parents might have noticed was on your first visit home from school. When around 10 or 10:30, you headed for the door to leave. I'm pretty sure you heard this question a few times. Where are you going at this hour? And they probably said, and where do you think you're going to go, and what time are you going to get back? It captures something about becoming your own person and still keeping that connection with some of the old. It comes from the bridging of two worlds. We're always hearing about the world of academia, the famous ivory tower. People like to make fun of it. I'm sure your professors have sense of humor enough to do the same. But that ivory tower is there for a reason. It's supposed to stand somewhere above the everyday reality. It's a place you can experiment without fear of ridicule. It's there to challenge old beliefs or reinforce them. Either way, it's there to make you think and decide. College is a forgiving place, a safe corner in which to try on ideas, to stake out positions we might abandon with time and maturity. It's a place where a mistake is more a chance to learn than a reason to regret. but it is separate from the everyday world you're headed to. You might have come in here a liberal or a conservative, and now you're leaving as something else. You might have come in here sure you were going to be a doctor, and now you want to be a teacher. You didn't simply change your mind. You opened your mind. That's what college does. But now you're leaving college. Most of you are eager to use what you learned here. I beg you, take that open mind with you. Because what you learned here will help you, but it must be combined with what you learned from this day on. Don't be afraid to learn from experience. Ed Koch, the former mayor of New York, once told a story of a judge who was mugged. The judge was a well-educated man and a great idealist. He called a press conference and said, "I want everybody to know this mugging will not influence the way I administer the law." An older woman in the back of the room shouted, "Then mug them again." You're going to have to make decisions, and in some cases, very difficult decisions. You want to be right all the time, and that's good. But know that your best hope is being right much of the time. You also have to accept something else. Holding to your beliefs, following your conscience, keeping your word does not necessarily confer popularity. Every now and then I visit an elementary school. Talking with children is a pretty good idea, I think. They ask questions we don't think about, and they ask them very directly. Recently, a little girl wanted to know, "What's the hardest part of your job?" That got me thinking. I looked down and I told her, "The hardest part is telling people no." I think the parents in this audience know about that. It's been part of their job too. And it gets harder with time. Today, it seems as if the only acceptable answer is yes. And it has to be instant. If we want music today, we punch a key and the computer delivers it. If we're hungry, the person at the drive-thru not only says yes, but offers to supersize it. Too much of the world pretends it's Christmas every day. This does two things. It squanders our resources, and it devalues the real Christmas. As you leave Albright for the real world, you are going to encounter the occasional person who says no. And job applicants hear that a lot. Most successes come after repeated failures. All the while, the world of Madison Avenue and Wall Street, the voices of commerce, are trying to tell us yes, to tell us things are easy. They're not easy. The world will challenge you to keep learning. It will offer you the lesson of understanding, of tolerance to views you don't share. That's the purpose of a liberal arts education. To give you the courage of your convictions and the courage to respect the convictions of others. What holds this whole package together, I believe, is good faith. For those of you raised here in this computer age, I guess I'm saying that good faith should be your default setting. Everybody has a reason for what they think, how they act, what they ask of others. Take their words at good faith. But to listen to the public debate in the current era, you would think that everybody out there is a fool, a crook, or a pinhead, or the worst person in the world. It's not enough to disagree. We want to demonize today. It's not enough to win. We must destroy. Ridicule has replaced reason. This has happened before, but history always catches up with us. George McClellan, a Union general in the Civil War, wrote about how he crushed his enemies. There were these people he called dotards and fools. He wasn't talking about the Confederates. He was writing to his wife about how he had outmaneuvered the other generals and gained control of the army. He called Lincoln nothing more than a well-meaning baboon. Today, we remember Lincoln as one of the greatest figures in history. McClellan, when he is remembered at all, is recalled as a general who never won a real battle. History shows us that human reasoning usually works best in low gear. With time, we do figure things out. Some of the most foolish ideas in all history have been spoken with great authority. The writer, Scott Birkin, who actually lived in Pittsburgh for a time, noted that the tricky thing about the future is that it's different than the past. What he was trying to explain was that old ideas or past data don't guarantee something will always work. Think of the extraordinary gift, and it is an extraordinary gift that you possess. Being young adults at the start of this new century, you possess technologies that let you communicate instantly, to explore new worlds, to dream big, and make some of those dreams realities. But you can only do this with an open mind. George Bernard Shaw, a man dispirited by the wars of the 20th century, captured this despair when he said, in an age in which has nothing to say, the loudspeaker has been invented. Now, you have more than a loudspeaker. Your generation speaks with the world instantly. I urge you, have something to say. You have here today students from Pennsylvania and New Jersey, from New England, from Virginia, Florida, and Texas, as we heard. 150 years ago, men from the North and the South were firing cannons at each other. It was the greatest failure of tolerance and compassion this country has ever known. More than 600,000 Americans died, victims of unreason, victims of failure to open their minds wide enough to let reason pass through, victims of intolerance, victims of bad faith. This graduating class includes students from other nations. Their governments and ours often disagree. We do battle in the world of commerce, and we often criticize each other. Yet we operate from the same premise, that each loves its people and wants what is best for them. If we start from any other premise, then every other man and woman would be our enemy. Every differing opinion an imaginary plot against us. This, to me, is no foundation upon which to build a future. So let me finally ask you the question. Where are you going at this hour? This hour of graduation. You're going into the world. Some of you to graduate school, a few to law school, some to careers, and some to public service. Take with you the best of your education. Take that part of the liberal arts tradition established here at Albright that opens you to ideas. You don't have to agree with every one of them, but you can't disagree intelligently without first listening. Be the change that this world needs. A new era of civility and tolerance, of hard battles fought cleanly, with respect in the sense of good faith that makes either side worthy of victory. You know, you can see a long way from the top of an ivory tower, but now is the time to climb down and to walk at ground level, where the view is different, to walk a little harder, but the destination is still within sight and now within reach. I wish you the best on that walk. Good luck and God bless.